another episode of Choose Your Own Path. So, today, we're gonna do something else. So, a couple years back, somebody made this for me. It's tin, it's a butterfly, and a little dusty, but it's easy to shine up. And I thought, what can I do with this? Well, I found a petrified piece of wood. Now, it could be a burl. I don't know, it could be anything, I guess. Now, I was thinking, maybe, to insert it on here. But this guy is like, it's dusty, it's old. Like me? I don't know. So, I figured we're gonna clean it up. Now, we could go out and just use one of these guys and get in there, but it doesn't get into all the cracks, all right? So today, we're gonna make ourselves our own flap sander. Now, what do you need to do a flap sander? You need sandpaper. So get yourself some sandpaper. The thinner ones are good. Cut them, I don't know. Well, here's another example. Where did you go? Where did you go? I just had it. This guy. This came with one of our tooling. And it has already backing, but this is hard as rock. That ain't gonna do nothing. It needs to be flexible, right? This is hard. So, that's about 2 inches, 2.5 inches big, maybe 3 inches. Whatever, good enough. And all I did was I traced it, and I cut myself some circles. They don't have to be perfect, guys. We're not China here, we're not a store, nothing. What you're gonna need to do is get yourself a bolt, a couple of washers, and a nut. And what we're gonna do is we poked a hole in the center. It might not be big enough though. Let's get that looked at. Ooh, there's flies here. So what we're gonna do is, there was a hole in there. I'm just gonna take a screwdriver, and without killing myself, I'm just gonna put it through, all right? Just enough so I can put that screw in there. And then what you want to do is start off by having, this is gonna be your top. So you want the top to go in, be the first piece there, like so. I know I got holes there, but that's okay. We're doing a bunch of pieces. And then you're just gonna invert the piece and put it over like that. And all you want to do is keep on doing that, oops, over and over and over until you get to the point where, I think 6 of them is enough. Should be fine. This one didn't have a hole in it. A little hole in there. Alright. So once that's on there, put another little washer on there to hold it down. Get your bolt. Put it all the way down. And then you want this thing to be on there firmly, all right? Little fly around here, little bugger bites. So get that on there nice and tight. Once that's on there, and I mean I got that on tight, you got yourself a flap sander, all right? Very simple. Nothing you couldn't figure out yourself. It's just very simple. That little bugger, he's gonna bite me. Flies bite, you know. All right, so from here, what we want to do, now I know that my Fordham definitely has a big enough collet inside, and these are, well, they don't, not even collets, they're just easier attachments. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll just open that up. insert that in there. We get it open wide. The widest you can get. We'll just tighten that guy down. Alright. Tighten it enough. Don't want this thing flying at you. And then we'll switch out our tool. So, safety goggles on. We'll take off the fan for a second so you don't have to hear it. And we got ourselves an easy sanding flap. That'll get into all the corners. This thing smells old. Alright, so I'll sand this down and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so this thing smells. It smells like perfume. I don't know what the hell. Whatever. So most of it is it's out, but there is a lot of rot in there, and that's probably because it's petrified and it's really old, whatever it is. So I'm gonna work on it a bit just to get a little bit of that crap out. Just take a knife and I'm just gonna. This is the bottom side, but still, I like to get that stuff out of there. I don't have to smell it, whatever it is. It's rotten, whatever it is, and I'm pretty sure it's petrified. I don't know where I found this. Whatever, I can't remember. It's been a while I've had it. It's been sitting in my room. I wanted to do something with it, and this is a perfect opportunity. And just to get some of the rot out. Alright. So that's pretty much cleaned up. So the next step, I think I'm going to bring it in and just wash it down, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Alright, so since we're waiting for that guy to dry, I found some, well, I've had some copper. I figured we're going to paint this guy up. So we're just gonna paint it up with the copper. We'll see if it sticks to it. I'm not sure if it will. It'll take a lot of coatings. We'll see what happens. You see the difference? I can see the difference. We're just gonna lay down a couple of coats on here. Using the Iwata for most of our builds, our paints. We do have a couple other ones, but this is my go-to one. Let's dry this side with a shading of it. You won't see the bottom part of this because it'll be sitting pretty flat, but we'll give it a paint job anyway. Okay, we're gonna let it dry, and then we'll put another coat on. Hold on. Alright, so we cleaned it up and we dried it, and it looks pretty cool. So what I'm going to do is I just have, this is a normal stain with a touch of this, the red, with the cherry wood, just a little bit, just to give it some coloring. And what we're going to do is we're going to stain our piece. And I have it over my Lazy Susie here, so if I'm making a mess, well, that's okay. So we want to get into all the crevices. And you can see, look at that. It's like totally different look. It's like gold. You know what this, I'll tell you what. You know what this smelled like? It smelled like the old Avon products. Believe it or not, that's what it smelled like to me. It was like, what the hell? I don't know what kind of wood this is, guys. No clue. Couldn't tell you. You know, all I know is it's old. And again, where I found it, don't ask me, man. Can't remember what I did yesterday. I did a bird yesterday and today. So we are gonna just slap that on, get it in all the little crevices. Make sure it's got a good little stain going on. A little bit more here in this. Sometimes these things just suck it right up. That's the nice thing about using a foam brush, is the foam brush will get into everything. Well, you hope it does. And I always wear gloves, guys. Outside, you know, my doors are open, well ventilated. So I would think that looks pretty cool for a piece of wood. Almost looks like a rock. So this is gonna just go sit in the sun. And when it's done, we're gonna insert the metal butterfly on it. And maybe even epoxy this first. I don't know, we'll see. We're crazy, we're loony. Epoxy is only for fixing things, isn't it? No. Epoxy is for making things last. This would be outside. Beautiful for outside if anybody's looking for it. Somebody wants it, to buy it, it'll be there. So, anyway, let's let that dry and see what it looks like in about an hour or so, okay? All right.
All right. So once it's all dried, I'm going to drill a hole. I think I'm going to drill a hole up here. I'm going to put one right here, just to say that it's going in. This is, I'm videoing. So roughly about, try to guess it. How deep I want to go. I think that's perfect. So we'll have the butterfly sort of propped like that. All right, so I'll get the epoxy set up and I'll be right back.
All right, guys. So again, we're using our Pour On product. It's from Michael's. It's our epoxy. And what we did was we mixed in ounces, it's 10 ounces of the hardener and 10 ounces of the resin. So we mixed it up very well. And what we're going to do is we're going to just put it on by hand like we did with the other stuff. This way we can just rub it into all the grooves and we can make sure that we get all the spots done. So I have this on a Lazy Susie, or Susan, as I think it's called, and with a rack. Now I use the rack because of the dripping, and if it drips, it just goes on that and I'm fine with it. Otherwise, I don't want it basically all over the place. Once resin cures, it's hard as rock. So as you can see, I'm just getting it into all the grooves
I'm double gloved because I noticed that, well, I also took my rings off because a lot of times I'll rip it off and then I'll have epoxy all over my hands, and that's not good for you. So, but you really want to get into all the spots. If you have to, you can pour it on there and then just sort of let it ooze into all the little spots, and then kind of just flush it around. The top is what's mostly visible, will be visible, compared to anything else. So I'm more concerned about what the top looks like. I'd really like all of it done, you know, have it all kind of epoxied in there. And same with anything else, gravity will play a role in this, where it'll want to drip and kind of ooze out. So we have to be sort of vigilant on where it's going and stuff. Mixing it for at least 2 to 3 minutes is very important. I always say that to you guys. You have to make sure you mix it. You want a milky, white, milky substance to go on there. Okay. Now, because I drilled a hole in it already, we could do one of two things. We could attach the butterfly right away, or we could just re-drill it after. So I think we're gonna have to just re-drill it after, because we want to keep an eye on our epoxy, and if we do that, we'll end up probably touching it more than we need to. So it's always a good idea to basically, we know where the hole is approximately. If not, we just re-drill another one. You'll never see it because the epoxy obviously will fill in the gap and won't be seen anymore. So like I said, we're just going to give it a good rubbing. Make sure that we get it all over the place, and plus we could just kind of wipe some of it off at the same time. Get it off our gloves. Because like I said before, this stuff will end up having a big goop, and like I said, with gravity, it'll want to pull itself down to the lowest corners, and you'll end up getting that all over. You'll have to sand it off. If anything, you'll have to sand it off. But I think that looks really, really well. Like it's really gonna shine, and it's gonna turn out really nice at the end. So what we're gonna do is let it sit. It takes, like I said, takes up to 72 hours depending on where it is, heat and all that. Once I've noticed that it's cured, I could set it out in the sun kind of thing. It'll help it cure better. But again, because I could see where the big drips will probably form, I have to be careful with it. So again, I'm just going to set it down on the dripping rack. So my dripping rack. It'll end up probably getting stuck to this, just in general, but it's easy to fix if we have to. So you can see that the epoxy is all over it. I think it looks really sharp. I would really like to, you know what, I'm just gonna form the rest of the epoxy on the butterfly. What's it gonna hurt? This way, I'm thinking that the paint, if this is an outside item, the paint will not come off it as easy as it did before, and it'll definitely make it really solid once it dries. So this one with a little bit of epoxy on the whole character itself, very thin and just enough to cover, because the airbrush paint, you never know, it may not last in the outside as much. Well, I shouldn't say that, because I had those skulls over there done for a long time. You know what, we're just gonna find the hole. The hell with it, find the hole, and we're gonna place this guy where we want him to be. I think I wanted him like this, and you know what? Once that epoxy sets, he or she is going to be stuck in there. It's not going to be coming out ever. Well, it could, I guess, but it shouldn't. This is just like, you know how epoxy works, guys. It basically grabs a hold of it and then it just hardens. So in that case, hopefully this hardens first, and then we could just, if we need to play around with it, that's fine. Don't have to do anything. Don't have to use the heat gun or nothing for this. I'm not worried about that. Just keeping an eye on any kind of big drips, where it's going to be, and so on. So I'll just push that down a bit. And hopefully it doesn't want to turn too much, because I kind of want it at an angle, like so. There we go. Maybe like that. It's hard to, it seems like it wants to turn. It wants to turn everywhere. So I want to keep it so it's visible to the big side. So there you go, guys. It's done. It'll harden. I'll show you the in the next videos. It's always pops up in the next videos where when it's, you know, when it hardens, you'll be able to see it better. I'll have it visible for everybody to see, and we'll go from there. So you know what, let me get down here. Like, subscribe, and share. Don't forget, tell everybody to join the channel. It's fun. Well, for me it is, because I like watching the subscriber count go up. If I can do it, you can do it. Choose your own path, guys. All right, on to the next one.